let's start with a spoiler-free rundown of the film.
Okay,
Nice generic question to start.
Okay, so Egomaniac is the story of a young female filmmaker who is desperately trying to make a zombie horror romantic comedy, but everyone in the industry keeps telling her to put a talking dog in the film. So she tries to put this talking dog in the film, and eventually they ask more and more compromises from her, to the point where eventually compromise can kill, and it all gets a little bit sticky.
Consequences can be a killer.
Yep, indeed.
So, the talking dog, is this something that actually happened, or is this from your imagination?
I'm never going to tell people what is fact and what is fiction, but the only thing I'm going to say is I was asked to write a talking dog film, and most filmmakers at some stage will be in that crazy meeting where they go, you know the thing that we think that you should write? Talking dog film, biggest thing in film. It's actually, people don't realise how big talking dog films are. You go to places like Cannes and Berlin, and there are sales agents who are dedicated just to talking dog films, and you see like these endless posters, and now it's going into other animals. I saw a talking hamster film.
Okay.
There's now talking horse films, which are apparently becoming more popular, but it's a bit, you know, it's this thing that they're really sellable and they make loads of money really quickly, so make a talking dog film. So that's kind of the undertone, because I think for me, there's nothing more ridiculous than making a talking dog film or putting a talking dog
Or talking animal.
Or talking animal
of any description.
You know, and like, you know, like in your film to make more money. But I think that can sometimes be the
Well,
case.
I've seen a lot of them because I've got an 8 3/4-year-old son, so I've seen a lot of films with talking animals.
Yeah.
None as horrific as yours. Horrific in a different sense. So was there anything that actually happened to you that was even too weird or outrageous to include in the film?
I mean, the first night that I went to the Cannes Film Festival, and I didn't know anybody there, I didn't know anybody in the industry, kind of turned up, was, dressed to the nine, being like, oh, Cannes. And I was pressed against the back of an elevator by a random stranger guy, and he literally rubbed himself up against me. It was like, come back. And he was just like, come back to my villa. I'll introduce you to Brad and Brad and Aj, they're good friends of mine. And those kind of situations can be really, really surreal. I did also once do a meeting where, I mean, some of them are funny, like some of them are hysterical. Like I did this meeting in Cannes recently, and I was desperately trying to pitch my film, because I was speaking to one of the top people, and I was trying to pitch my film, and all he kept doing was showing me photos of him on his motorbike. So I could never actually get to the end of the pitch, because he was just like, look at me on my motorbike, look at me on my motorbike, look at me on my motorbike, look how good I look. And I'm like, what? And then he was like, go on, stroke my beard. You want to stroke my beard? I'm just like, what? I'm trying to pitch my film. And now he keeps sending me emails being like, oh, I'd really love to hear about your film. I'd love to hear about everything in your film. And I'm like, well, you could have if you hadn't been sharing your midlife crisis with me.
How difficult was it finding the leading lady? Because if it's semi-autobiographical, she's ostensibly your alter ego on screen.
Basically, yeah.
Yes, so how difficult was it finding?
Not difficult at all. I've known Nick from university, and we've done a lot of productions together. And she's also someone who's a very close friend of mine. The only person in my head that could play that role was Nick Lamont. So I basically wrote...
You wrote it for her?
I wrote it for her. Particularly with something that's that personal and that intimate, you have to really trust the actor that you work with.
So on a bit more of a serious note, how do you see your role as a filmmaker in what is ostensibly a testosterone-fueled genre?
I'm a filmmaker, and I get a little bit annoyed if I keep being called a female filmmaker, because it's like, look, I'm a filmmaker. I'd like to think I'm pretty good at it. I'm not a shrinking violet or anything like that. I get things done and I get shit done. If I ever get asked again, like, oh, are you an actress? Or, oh, are you a producer? And you're just like, no, I'm a writer-director. Oh, what do you do? Romantic comedies? No, I do horror. Fuck off. It's like you do have to deal with those kind of stereotypes a bit. But, I find that most people are so supportive. I'd say like there's like 95% are really supportive and really for female filmmakers and are really great to work with. But you just have this 5% who just can't handle it and are just and that's kind of what Egomaniac's about, and that's kind of the bit that we need to like push against.
Well, it's a comedy. It's pretty extreme. Is there anything that even you would find too extreme to put up there on a screen?
As long as everything has a justification for being there. I'm not big into unnecessary violence. I like things to have a reason for being there. But I think if everything is justified and everything has a reason and everything is pushing the story forward in an important way, then I don't think there's anything too extreme.
Are there any directors that you would regard as being influential to you?
See, I always get really embarrassed by this question because...
Don't be embarrassed.
Because, like, people are going to think, oh, I'm going to say, like, some really cool horror director or some good 90s... But I'm honestly, what I'll always say is the reason I got into filmmaking was because I was a huge Tim Burton fan when I was a teenager. The point when I watched Nightmare Before Christmas as a kid is when my whole imagination just changed. I was like, wow, things are not pink. Things are like, it's not My Little Ponies. It's like, wow, it's dark and it's weird. And I think that was probably one of the that is my most influential film because I just know how much my imagination changed.
So what can we expect from you next?
Well, my next film is called Bloody Burrito. I'm not allowed to say too much.
Okay.
All I'm going to say is it's about 2 waitresses, one who only gets orgasms eating human flesh and the other one who is a psychopath. And they work in a Mexican restaurant and they start killing irritating customers and hiding their bodies in the beef burritos.
It's another reality one then.
Well, it is based a little bit as my time as a waitress, but I didn't kill anyone, I promise. I didn't kill anyone. But I think you're just naturally going to draw things from your own experiences. I think that's just a natural thing to do. And I think even no matter how surreal or weird anything I got, it would always be drawn very much from person. I think writing I think for me it's a form of therapy. It's kind of like working out things in my head and finding if you take something that was quite negative in your life and then writing it into something that's positive and makes people laugh, then I think that's a nice thing.
Fantastic. Pleasure.
It's been fun.